Hello. Hello, pretty
Hi.
lady. Hi. Oh my gosh, you think I had it together over here? I don't. I was somewhere else completely different. Completely different. Hello, everyone. And welcome to another episode of True Crime and Wine Time, where we dive into the most jaw-dropping true crime stories while sipping something smooth to take the edge off. So, before we begin, pour a glass. I got mine. You got yours, Cap? All right.
Mhm.
Lock your doors and let's uncork the truth behind some of the darkest of crimes. I'm your host, Llama, and the lovely Terry True Crime is still out for one more week. So I have another guest co host with me tonight. Many of you recognize her. Tonight, I have the fairly tolerable Capn with me. She wrote that line for me. I do not agree. I think she's fantastic, lovely, amazing. She's done numerous shows with us before, and I always enjoy her presence, her insight, and all that she does for the show. So you should,
Well,
as
thank
Terry
you
says,
very
you
much.
shouldn't say bad things about my friend.
Well, I wrote it in the script as a joke for you to replace after you read the script, and then I wasn't sure if you read it or if you just agreed.
I did.
But
I did.
um, hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be back here with you, and I'm glad you're here watching. Don't worry, Terry will be back very soon. You're almost done with the substitute teachers.
Oh boy, and Llama's tired. Holding up this fort. Oh my goodness. Hello, let's say hi to Lady in Gray. Hello, Lady in Gray. And who's this? Oh, Michael Green Chili Chicken. Well, hello. Good evening, sir. That is not? I thought that was Zoe.
Oh, because of the new. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't know why it keeps doing this to channel, but I do not like it. Oh, look, it's motion to scream WTF granted. Hey, babes. One of the lovely mods over at Miss Shorty over on YouTube. If you guys don't subscribe to her, go do that. Go do that. Well, thank you. Thank you, Lady in Gray. She says we look lovely, Cap, and we clean up well. Kind of.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends on the day.
I was really in my bed till like 7:15. I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
When I get nervous, I just put more and more makeup on. So,
Is that it? Well, you guys, before we begin, though, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button. Boom. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live or drop an episode. You can also become a member, which comes with all sorts of exclusive perks, including a sneak peek at my new series, The Devil in the Bay, which won't premiere until December, but I am currently live recording it for members only. I did parts 1 through 3 today. I thought it went pretty well. I thought it went very well. And I'm very, very excited to do it. So one of the many reasons you should become a member, all you have to do is just click the join button and pick which tier works best for you. We also have a lot of really cool member-only things coming up in the next couple of months that Terry and I are putting together, as if you don't get enough of us already. And if you're listening to this as a pod, please leave a rating and a review, as it helps our little pod get noticed. Oh, and I think download. I forgot to say download. Do that too, because apparently the algorithms like that. Now, Cap'n, why don't you tell us what we will be covering tonight? Ooh.
Tonight, we will be covering the case of 5 brutal murders that changed the social landscape of Athens, Georgia in 1987. As a former Athenian, this was my formative true crime case, so I hope I can do it justice.
I learned about what this this is a formative case indeed. Oh my. I actually hadn't heard of this case before, so I am very excited to cover it. It's gonna be a wild ride, so buckle up, because as I was reading things, I was putting little emoji reactions as I was reading, like, what? the whole time. So I think you guys will like the story. But Cap'n, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I like to stay on theme when I can. So I couldn't resist a classic city lager
Mm.
from Athens' own Creature Comforts Brewery. They describe it as clean, crisp, easy drinking, and I'm inclined to agree.
Ooh.
I got it for the name, but I will definitely be buying this again. It's also the official craft beer of the dogs,
Oh,
spelled with a
oh,
W. Sorry, Lady in Gray. It's going to come up
oh.
tonight.
There's about to be a staff fight tonight. Watch out. Gonna meet you in the general
Turf
chat
war.
at 10:30. Bring your friends. Well, you guys, tonight I'm drinking one of the many bottles of wine Elbow Feet got me for our 13-year anniversary this week. That's right. It's been 13 long years. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't know how
It's
you
going
do
great.
it.
You met him. You met him. No, I'm just kidding. I love his
Just saying.
face. He's amazing.
He
But
is
so
great.
tonight I have a bottle of Bay Bridge Moscato, which has a cork and everything. So, we fancy it tonight instead of my normal twisty screw cap. And I would say it has a description, but we're not that fancy. It just is what it is. But, I must say, I enjoy it. So that's great. And so, with that, let's get into the story of the Athens murders of 1987. We're in the 80s again. Oh my.
Back to the 80s.
What a wild time.
So, who here had a local mystery that spread like an urban legend when they were a kid? So, the one house you weren't supposed to go to, the street you shouldn't be too loud
Mm,
on, and then everyone tells a slightly different version of the story.
yeah.
Well, when Llama Capn moved to Athens, Georgia in 1992, there was this one house on my school bus route. It was right near a fun little area called Normaltown, and it was the prettiest house on the street, just like whole different vibe than all the others. Little mosaic of a ship over the front door. And when I asked people, they told me not to ask about it. That's the murder house, they said.
Ooh.
So we all know why we're here, right? You can't just tell a girl not to ask questions. So,
I mean, we're not those girls anyway.
no, formative.
A formative. Oh my God. I couldn't imagine being like on the school bus every day, being like, oh, people died there. I know, babe. I know. Zoe's the worst. She scratched at the door. I heard her. Just go put her in the room with you. Sorry. It's Queen Zoe wanting to make her appearance in my live, like every live I do every day.
It is all about Zoe.
It is. It is. You met her.
Okay. But
She
what's up,
lives up.
Kita?
There was Kita flying by, like, oh, it's me. It's me. Did you say pets? I'm here. Oh, gosh. All right. So before we get into the horrific content of this case, we need to set the stage. Now, who is familiar with Athens? Georgia, that is. Not Greece, but also for me, the answer is no to both. I also know we have some Southerners in the chat. Some of my besties are Southerners because I love you guys.
They probably all hate Georgia.
Okay, well, if you aren't familiar with it, it's nicknamed the Classic City, hence Captain's Beverage for the evening. Oh, look at that. Girls always on theme. And there are a couple of standout things about it. The first is that it's home of the University of Georgia.
Go dogs.
And the second is the music. For decades, Athens has been a hotbed of alternative music, spawning bands like the B-52s, REM, Widespread Panic, and literally too many to list right now, which I did not know that. And that was such
It's
a
its
fun
own
fact to
episode.
learn.
It's still happening. I mean, it
Yeah.
is like generally a very specific kind of alternative music, but you know,
I
it
love
was
that.
very fun to grow up there. So Athens was not only like a traditional Southern college town, but it also had this like bohemian mecca going on for the Southeast. And as author Grace Hale wrote in her book Cool Town
Mm.
about Athens in the 80s, we longed to send our yop over the rooftops of the world too, to live for music and art and sex, to be daring and original and important. Why the hell not? We did not want to be rednecks or racists or conservative Christians or live in subdivisions or work as middle managers. We
Ugh.
dreamed not of the Reagan era Sunbelt, but of a different world, a new South. And in the university's libraries and archives and studios and galleries and concert halls and the town's old buildings, we found resources to try to make that world a reality.
Sounds awesome. What a time to
Sounds
be
awesome.
alive.
That I will say that picture is like quite a
I love
group.
it. It has quite the
Quite a group of
personality.
weird white people.
That picture has a lot of personality. So this was a small, affordable town where you can get a great education and see the B-52s play for free. I mean, amazing. And it's a place where people felt safe and often left their doors unlocked. And if you've been in true crime enough, you know, places leave their doors unlocked. Not great. And then that all changed one morning in 1987. Buckle up, guys.
Yeah. On the morning of April 25th, 1987, the Athens Clarke County Police were called to 649 Oglethorpe Avenue. That's the big yellow house on the corner of Oglethorpe and Sunset.
Gorgeous.
William, or Billy Sutton, was living in Las Vegas working for the EPA and hadn't been able to reach his elderly parents, Glenn and Rachel Sutton, for days. At 82 and 78, respectively, they were both retired and they didn't get out of the house much. He'd asked a neighbor to pop by, but they'd had no luck in contacting the couple.
Oh, I don't like this. That house is so gorgeous, you guys. We're all going to be obsessed with it.
Get in line. But also, one of these days, I want to do a case where it starts like this and then it's like everything was fine.
Everything was fine. Well, I don't think we'd be in business if that was the case. It was fine. They just fell asleep.
They were on vacation.
It was fine. It's fine. That bad smell, just the fridge went out. That's all. Don't worry about it. Everything is fine. Well, unfortunately, that is not how this story goes, my friends. An officer knocked on the door, but no one responded. The blinds were closed. The curtains were pulled. And he asked, can you guys hear my son right now?
I can't.
You can?
I cannot.
Okay. All right. As long as you guys can't hear him, I can faintly hear him. I don't like him, popping up on when I'm streaming or whatever. But as long as you guys can't, okay. He has a very deep voice now. So like it carries. All right. Where were we? I apologize. So the blinds were closed, the curtains were pulled, and he asked dispatch to contact local hospitals in case they'd been admitted, but there were no leads. He spoke to the gardener who came every Saturday to care for the yard and sometimes help them with grocery shopping. He didn't know what was going on. And the officer asked Sergeant Lloyd Nash to come by. That front door is amazing.
Right? Mosaic. So the police reached out to Billy Sutton, who told them to break a window to get inside. The two officers used a neighbor's ladder to climb up and break into the second story of the house.
I am a little perplexed. Why did they choose the second story window? I mean, that seems like unnecessary extra work.
Well,
do we know?
I know, yeah. Because if there was nothing going on and they're just breaking a window, it's harder for people to then break into the house afterwards. So they didn't want like a ground floor window out for people to just come and go in. It is like a kind of a prominent intersection for the area, at least.
Okay.
And it's right on the route to high school. So
that makes sense, I guess. I was just a little like, oh, that I'm not doing that. But that's also why I'm not a police officer. So
I thought it was kind of thoughtful of them.
That is
I mean,
very
thoughtful. You see
thoughtful.
that house, you want to treat that house with respect, right?
That's true. I do.
So, because I'm not kidding, I am obsessed with this house. My friends have heard me talk about this house before. People say I don't want to live in a murder house. I say I do. I have one specifically I want to live in. So we're going to do a little house tour before things get too dark.
Yay.
Luckily, we've got some pictures from Zillow. So
yeah, Zillow gone wild.
Everything's brightened up. So this house was built circa 1920 with over 3,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, and 3 bathrooms.
Wow.
Between the kitchen and the dining room is a little narrow room called the butler's pantry, which I might be mentioning for a reason. And a detached garage sits at the end of the driveway.
Well, I must say, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous property. That's for sure. And it looks like if those are recent pictures, it looks like it's pretty, like it's kept its history, if you will. Some of the natural nooks and crannies. I love that.
They took out the carpet, which I think we'll know why. They left the kitchen floor as it was, which perplexed me, but whoever bought it then for at least half of the market value hopefully has taken that money to redo that kitchen floor.
Oh, thank you, On Top X, for the super sticker. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank
and you and your support of us. It helps keep the wine flowing and the true crime stories be told. I should come up with a better line than that. It's been a long day for me, okay? A long week. All right, but nobody cares about me. Now back to April 25th, when the police climbed through a large window on the second floor. A search of the upstairs yielded nothing. But as they headed downstairs, they were confronted with an unmistakable odor. Following it through the dining room, the officers found the Suttons deceased in their butler's pantry, wrapped in a rug. Ugh, and just talked about that. Ugh. Don't like
foreshadowing. So, who were Glenn and Rachel Sutton? According to a neighbor who was interviewed years later, they were very, very private people. I lived there for 16 years right behind them, and I never personally met them. They also owned several rental properties, but when questioned after the crimes, the tenants knew nothing about their landlords.
And they may have been private people, but they made quite an impact on the community around them. Glenn Wallace Sutton was born July 25th, 1904 in Milan, Indiana. Not Italy, it's Indiana. He began working as an accountant at the age of 18, which is wild to me, and went on to earn his bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Indiana. He married Rachel Sibley in 1930 and taught economics at Indiana and UGA during the Great Depression before returning to his own educational pursuits, earning his doctorate from the inescapable Ohio State University. Go Bucks. Since we're doing that tonight, I guess.
Yeah, is anyone going to get mad about? Oh, Amy, are you going to get mad?
Oh, wait.
We've got so many rivalries for us to all be friends.
That's true.
So during World War II, Glenn served in the U.S. Naval Reserve, eventually retiring as a captain. Overall, he spent 26 years at the University of Georgia, working as a finance professor, the chair of the finance division, and opening a school for World War II veterans at an Army airfield in Savannah.
These people are like amazing, by the way. I feel like garbage when I read about them because I'm like, well, I have done nothing. I'm almost 40. I mean, nothing. So cool. Cool. Now, in case you're wondering, how do they get cooler? Here's some more. In 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower appointed Mr. Sutton to the U.S. Tariff Commission. Mr. Sutton served as vice chairman from 1966 to 1969, and in 1969, he was named head of the panel by President Richard Nixon. Ooh, not great, but what are you going to do? 2 years later, Mr. Sutton retired from the commission to become a foreign trade consultant. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And when I looked into it, it's like, because I read this, what's on the slide right now, the interview with him in the Dwight Eisenhower Library. Talks about how he got into all of this, what he specifically did and everything. It's very interesting if you really, really care about this, which I do. But yet he just like helped a guy out in Atlanta, and then that guy ended up recommending him to be on, like, to the president. Like, it just happened because he was a good guy.
See?
And did a good job.
Good, people. Yeah. It'll get you places. Be good. Be a good person.
And
not hard.
And his wife, Dr. Rachel Sibley Sutton, was also very accomplished. Mm-hmm. She was also a professor at UGA. She taught in and then eventually became the chairman of UGA's College of Education's Elementary Education Division for 39 years before retiring with an emeritus title. So her long service is still remembered with the Rachel Sibley Sutton Scholarship, honoring her distinguished career and leadership in elementary education, according to the College of Education website.
Just fascinating. What an extraordinary life experiences and careers they both had during the times that they lived, where, especially for Miss Sutton, wasn't really something that women were known to do for many of those years. But, the couple was survived by their only child, William, who also seemed to be as private as his parents. Oh, I was reading the book thing that we just had on the screen there. I was like, oh, did she write the whole book? Never mind.
She did. She wrote a book. At least one.
At least one. More than I.
Probably more if she's a professor.
That's true.
Everybody's writing.
So sadly, we must get back to the day the Suttons' bodies were discovered. We keep trying to avoid it, but unfortunately, we can't. It was a Saturday, and the small police force had to call in officers on their days off. They left their families and fish fries and arrived at a really horrific scene.
So we are going to be showing you crime scene photos today. So let's go ahead and drop that trigger warning, please.
Boop.
No bodies, but lots of ick all the same.
That's true. And they're 1980s photographs, so it's not like they're like, in 4K or something crazy, but still.
No. And I don't even think that the really bad ones are available, but it's YouTube. Still got to be careful. So this is 1987. So when we think about a crime scene, we need to remember that while they got fingerprints, that was the only kind of forensic evidence available. There's no DNA, there's no carpet fibers. Fingerprints were the only thing they were working with.
I mean, yeah, forensic files doesn't even come out for a couple more years with the groundbreaking new technology that is DNA. Sorry, that's a joke between me and Elbow Feet because they say that in every single episode of Forensic Files. Now, the bodies had been moved into the butler's pantry, a narrow space between the dining room and the kitchen, and rolled up in a rug. Glenn Sutton had been stabbed multiple times with something large, and his throat was slit. Rachel was partially inside of a plastic garment bag and also stabbed multiple times. It was an incredibly senseless and violent attack on this elderly couple. The floors downstairs were stained and had been poorly mopped, and an empty Wendy's burger wrapper lay on the kitchen counter. All of the doors were locked and deadbolted. Now, you guys, this is when it gets really weird. The weapon was recovered, and an African spear was it, and it had been displayed in their home. A freaking spear, you guys. A freaking African spear. That was my first, like, what? When learning about this, oh my gosh. It's certainly the first case I've ever heard of an African spear being used as a murder weapon. And, you know, also when you think about the couple being stabbed multiple times each with it, like that's pretty horrific when you think about it. Like that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds just awkward too, physically, because there were other options around, but he went for the spear. A window was broken in the garage, and a neighbor said it hadn't been broken the night before. But both of the Suttons' cars were there. One was dented on the back bumper, and the trunk was packed with bloody evidence, rugs and rags used to clean, as well as women's shoes, clothing, and some jewelry. A tree near the garage showed signs of damage as well.
So weird, you guys. Basically, it looks like whoever did this loaded the car, but couldn't figure out how to drive it. Stupid. They driven it forward into the wall of the garage and then backed into a tree. So we're looking for a barbaric dumbass, apparently. So here we are. So great.
So between the attempt at cleaning up and disposing of evidence, the fast food wrapper, and the broken garage window, which we know happened days after the murders, it was likely to the police that the perpetrator had spent some time at the home after killing the Suttons. They estimated their day of death as April 22nd, which was also the last time a neighbor had seen them, 3 days before the bodies were discovered.
Yeah. The instinct was naturally to follow the money. We're in true crime. We know that's usually the case, right? But the Suttons' inheritance would go to their only son, and he wasn't a suspect. He'd been in Las Vegas and had looped the police in originally. The first lead they found was a young woman who had seen a man in the back driveway putting something in the trunk of a car. She described him as a young man, Hispanic, or maybe a light-skinned black complexion. They made a sketch based on her memory of that faraway young man and tracked down the one Hispanic member of a team of painters who had recently worked at the house, but after he willingly gave fingerprints that didn't match. They had a sketch and no suspects. And I wish you all could have seen our producer Amos down in the corner of my eye being like, what is this?
Sketch? Were you unhappy with the sketch, Amy? The sketch actually was a problem because they got so many tip calls from people being like, it kind of looks like this.
I think the angle of the hair is not great, but I will say the face is pretty good. I mean, I don't think it necessarily looks like, I'm not saying it looks like who we're going to, I'm just saying I've seen some police composite sketches that are like, wow.
Thomas Sweat.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Potato Head.
In case you're still wondering, is in fact Elbow Feet's YouTube picture. Still.
I was wondering if you might change it for this, but
I don't even know if he's listening. So probably not.
This guy, I don't know.
He's right there.
I've got better. Ooh, that's a good picture.
There he is.
That can be for his like catfish account, because I feel like this look like, I don't know.
I don't think it looks like who
It doesn't look like him.
we're gonna
We'll
find
come
out
back
about.
to that. I should have added this picture back at the end to compare. But okay, so they have plenty of evidence, but no idea as to who could have done it or why. And this was like huge, unthinkable news in a town like Athens. People finally started locking their doors. It's probably just a good idea in general. A local security alarm business saw their demand quickly double, and people started using like panic alarm buttons. People were just scared in general. And if something this brutal could happen to the Suttons, it could happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The police couldn't share much info about the crime, but in a small town, gossip is going to spread. Perhaps trying to ease some local minds when local crime journalist Wayne Ford asked police if they thought the killer would strike again. The officer replied, "No." Now, I get it. I get they don't want to scare the public more than they probably already are, but this clearly was some sort of robbery as well. And I feel like the police dropped the ball. Big time. Big time.
I think they did not know, like they had never had to deal with something like this before. So they were trying. By July 1987, the Athens County Police had reportedly questioned 300 people in relation to the case. I mean, there's reports of them finding a Kinko's bag in Mr. Sutton's house and questioning the Kinko's manager. They tried everything they could put together, but unfortunately, the break they needed came a month later and at the cost of 3 women's lives. So let's find out who they were before we address how their lives ended.
Yes. And also, before we do that, I would like to address, why is Athens not capitalized on the police cruiser? Does it bother anybody else? Because it bothers me. It bothers me. Is all I'm saying.
I think that this is 80s actually.
It's the 80s, yeah.
Because I started not capitalizing, I think, in Athens. I don't think it was.
It's a normal place.
I don't think it had to do with the police. For me, it was E. Cummings related, but.
I'm sorry, motion to scream, because she's like, well, now that bothers me. Sorry. Okay.
I mean, it does have that nice vintage look to it.
Well, I mean, it should. It's 1987. Oh my goodness. Gosh, cars were boats back then. Oh my. All right. So let's do address, though, the next set of victims here. So Anne Orr Morris was a world-renowned craftswoman. She was born in Athens in 1924 and grew up in the Carrs Hill area, which historically was on the outskirts of town, where the railroad ended and the stagecoaches ferried travelers into Athens. Her father was a landscape designer who curated their 28 acres into a paradise of plants, both native and exotic. Her cousin was a little lady named Flannery O'Connor, the most Irish-sounding name ever. Sorry, there's a fruit fly. It's been taunting me for days. I thought they lived a day. This one is living forever. Sorry. Oh, look at that. Do we have pictures of their garden flower? It sounds gorgeous.
Unfortunately, no. The pictures
makes me sad.
Pictures of this area were very limited.
Is that a peacock?
I think they're ducks.
Oh,
it's Flannery O'Connor. If people are not aware, famous Southern author, short stories and novels.
Okay.
Wrote A Good Man Is Hard to Find, Good Christian People. And it's a lot of turning around your expectations.
Well, Anne attended UGA before heading to New York for an apprenticeship in metalworking. Eager to learn, she eventually headed to Oslo to learn enameling. These people are fascinating in this case, by the way. They really are. Just, wow.
They are. Anne or Morris makes me like proud. She's a local Athens girl who got out there and learned from some of the best in the business. And then she brought it all home. And when she did move back to Athens, she continued to do her work, but she also taught other local women her trade, like everything she had learned, which I just think is cool. And it's like teaching, sharing your knowledge, but also I think a real sense of fellowship happened there.
Yeah.
So she did marry her husband, Kenneth, in 1963, and they had twins 2 years later. And in 1972, she was named the Classic Cities Woman of the Year in Arts. A memorial fund in her name continues to enrich the lives of UGA art students through a visiting artist program. Anne was 63 when she was murdered.
Oh, wow. That's amazing that that's still going on this many decades later.
Yeah.
Like
she's
had such an impact. Like that's amazing.
There's like the Smithsonian talk, like when looking at stuff about her.
I love
a big deal.
that. I love that.
Me too.
That makes me even more angrier about what's gonna happen. Now, Anne was very close to her younger sister, Sally, or Matheson. Sally was born in 1927, 3 years after Anne. And she worked with the American Red Cross in Germany and Hawaii. And in January of 1961, she married an Army doctor. They lived in Honolulu for many years and raised their daughter, Helen Matheson. In the late 70s, Sally returned to Athens with Helen, and Sally's husband seemed to be out of the picture at that point. So, bye.
Stayed in Hawaii, I guess. I mean, I know he did actually. I found his obituary.
Oh, he died?
Well, a while later.
Oh, okay. Well,
with a new wife. But he mentioned Helen in his obituary, so things weren't that bad, I guess.
Yeah, right?
During the ways things could have gone.
Okay.
So both Anne and Sally had survived cancer, but Sally had lost her larynx and spoke using like an electrolarynx. It became harder for people to understand her. She was naturally a little shy and frustrated about that. But she was described by friends as sweet and funny. She and Anne both lived on their family's land in Carr's Hill in separate homes, continuing in their father's tradition of caring for plants. Sally was 59 when she was murdered.
Yeah, another amazing person in this story. Now, Helen Matheson lived with her mother, Sally. She was born in Honolulu and adopted by Sally and her husband. And she was studying psychology at UGA. She was also working at Drug Emporium, a large drugstore a little west of campus. What a wild name for... What does that even mean? A drug emporium. What a weird name for a pharmacy, I guess. Her co-workers there described her as calm and kind and a joy to work with. Now, Helen was only 22 when she was murdered. So when Helen didn't show up for work on August 15th, her co-workers knew something was off. Yeah.
Now, Kenneth Morris knew something was off too. His wife, Anne Orr Morris, had left their home early in the morning to run errands and hadn't returned. He called the police around 9:40 p.m. to report her as missing. He told the police she had been on her way to the Trainer house, another historic piece of property affiliated with her family. He thought she might be with Sally since the two were so close.
So, dispatch sent an officer to Sally and Helen Nathanson's home that evening. Also, another gorgeous house. When Officer Huff arrived, he noted that all of the lights in the house were off, and a green Pontiac parked at an odd angle near the driveway. Kenneth Morse confirmed that it was his sister-in-law's car. As he got closer, he saw that the driver's window was down and the key was in the ignition. Huff called for backup from a Sergeant Turner, and when he and Turner approached the house, they found a woman face down in the grass. Ann Orr Morris had gone to Trainer House to dig up a plant. That's it. That's simple. And she brought it to her sister's house to plant there. Unfortunately, she hadn't had the chance.
So full disclosure, like I said before, there aren't many photos from this crime scene, which is probably for the best, given what we're about to hear.
Yes.
So Anne was in the lawn and had numerous head injuries. As Sergeant Turner wrote in his report, a check showed no apparent signs of life. Seeing this, Officer Huff was detailed to the front of the house to secure it, and I took the back. We called for additional units to help secure the house. As we approached the rear of the house, the sliding glass door was open, but a curtain was shut over the doorway. We entered the house and were immediately confronted with the second victim.
The sliding glass door opened into Sally Nathanson's bedroom. She was still in bed with her nightgown pulled up to her waist and with multiple head wounds. The phone cord had been cut on the bedside table, and the mark left in the table suggested it had been cut with an axe. Now, 2 dogs were in the room barking, but they weren't aggressive. They were loose, but they wouldn't leave Sally's side. Oh, my little heart. The room was a mess, but they had no way of knowing if that was normal or if whoever attacked Sally and Nan had torn up the room.
When they headed further into the house, they found a fireplace poker on the ground and a pair of men's underwear next to the coffee table. A bowl of cereal sat on a table. The television in the living room was on. It was the only light in the house as they searched. As they approached it, they found Helen Nathanson on the living room floor. She was face down, partially under a table. They could tell she was younger than the other 2 victims.
All of the victims had had such extreme trauma to their heads that their dentist was called to help confirm their identities. Oof, that's bad.
Bad day to be a dentist.
That is a bad, you guys. Yeah, that's not great, as Llama likes to say. They were hit so many times, the police couldn't tell how many times. That's wild. A fireplace poker hadn't done this amount of damage. The women had been attacked with a hatchet or an axe, but it didn't seem to be at the scene. The cereal and the Nathansons' attire suggested that they were attacked in the morning and that Anne arrived later and likely encountered the perpetrator as he left. Now, both Helen and Sally showed signs of sexual assault.
It was the most brutal crime scene, but many of the officers present would say they ever saw like in their whole careers. Before that day, they'd said the same about the Oglethorpe house.
Mm.
So more police arrived to sort through the crime scene, and they eventually noticed that a car was missing. Sally had recently inherited a 1984 Dodge Diplomat, and it was not parked outside. A bolo was issued for a gray Dodge with a crack in the windshield, but they didn't even know the tag number.
Well, apparently somebody knew how to drive this time. So luckily, they didn't particularly need the tag number, because that Dodge fell right into their laps the following morning when Officer Kirk Graham was driving down Moreland Avenue. Parked in front of a house was a gray Dodge, which, on closer inspection, had a chip in the windshield. Graham called in his fine and the plate number and knocked on the front door. Oh, was that the car right there?
On the right, yeah.
All the cars in the 80s kind of look the same.
Honestly, I'd have a hard time driving one of those cars.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too, right? But like a car named the Dodge Diplomat.
The Dodge Diplomat.
I expected something a little bit more fancy looking, to be honest with you. But
I think this was a fancy car.
I know.
I mean, it's not as fancy as the John List cars, let's be honest. We had the Bullet car in that case, but
that's true, the orange bug.
This car, well, no, but then the police guy owned the car from the movie Bullet.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
oh, yeah.
I couldn't find any pictures of him except him with his fancy car. So, yeah. But Dodge Diplomat, much more practical. She did just inherit it. She didn't pick out this car for herself. But I kind of feel like every car I've seen pictures of in this case looks basically the same. So he knocked on the door, Officer Graham, and he was let into a kitchen where a group of 4 or 5 young men stood staring at him. He told them he was looking for the owner of the Dodge, and no one replied.
Huh.
But one of them had a Dodge car key hanging from his belt. It was a teenage boy. Officer Graham asked if that was his car, and the boy said yes. And asked where he got it. He said, Chris gave it to me.
Okay. Well, you see, that's when the officer heard back from dispatch confirming the plate number. He told the young man that he needed to step outside with him, and he went without any resistance. He told the officer his name was Clinton Bankston Jr.
Officer Graham later described Bankston as meek, always saying yes, sir, and no, sir. His clothes were clean. He showed no physical sign of violently attacking 3 women recently. The officer couldn't comprehend that this quiet 16-year-old was involved in the murders at Carr's Hill. But he had the car, and within minutes, the house was swarmed by police, and Clinton Bankston Jr. was being read his rights and taken into custody.
Now, Bankston was interviewed by 2 police officers after signing a waiver that he did not want a lawyer present. Now, we all know, you guys, always ask for a lawyer, okay? It's your right. Do it. Here's a cookie. By the way, that's a Yellow Jackets joke, and I love Capn for throwing it in there. But Bankston isn't exactly thinking like we might. Now, everything we're going to talk about here is based on what Clinton said in his interview. So, take that with a grain of salt, or however many grains of salt, because there's going to be a lot of grains going on here. Also, we want to shout out to Bama Mike, another YouTuber, for putting the interview on his YouTube channel. So thank you, Bama Mike, for doing for doing that because it's very insightful.
It's an interesting watch.
It's interesting, yes.
So Bankston told the police that he'd gone to Chris's house to borrow a cassette tape. Now, I'm guessing this was probably a Michael Jackson tape, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Anyway, somehow riding his bike to Chris's to grab a tape turned into Clinton and Chris riding their bikes to Carr's Hill. Chris told Clinton that they were going over there to get somebody back. And Clinton assumed that he was playing a prank on a family member.
When they arrived at Sally Nathanson's home, Chris went inside while Clinton waited outside. Eventually, he went inside to see what Chris was up to. He entered through the sliding glass door and saw Sally Nathanson dead in her bed. He said he hadn't heard her being attacked since she couldn't speak. Sally, being physically unable to scream or yell for help during this, is truly horrific. He did, however, hear Helen's screams in the living room. When he got there, he saw Chris smashing her head in with an axe.
Well, Clinton actually insisted it was an axe sword. When the police asked him to clarify, he said it was something Chris had built, and it was like a sword and an axe combined.
Right, as one does. I think we're back one, Amos. We have a little audio clip to play. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wait, no, there's not one there.
Just cycling back.
Well, we don't have one for you right now. So that's okay. He has this axe sword thing. It's fine. We'll hear from him later. Don't you worry.
So, well, yeah, he says that he put together an axe and a sword. And I know Athens now is known for its DIY scene, but the whole thing's starting to seem a little fantastical. Because first off, Clinton left his home at 5 a.m. on the day of the Carr's Hill murders. So who borrows a cassette tape at 5 a.m.?
Have you heard Thriller? Have you heard it? You don't want to listen to, Billie Jean at 6 o'clock in the morning? Because I do.
I mean, not at 5 a.m. And I certainly don't want to be the person somebody shows up at their house at 5 a.m. to borrow a cassette tape. Like, no, we're not friends anymore.
Put it down. Okay.
But now, like, on top of that, he has an axe sword. And, like, was He-Man there? I'm just wondering how crazy this is going to get. So Clinton told the police that he was going to leave when he saw what Chris had done. And then he said something that really got the police's attention.
I think we got that clip.
It was kind of like he had a sword printed up like this and had an axe. Looked like he built it or something.
He made it himself.
Kind of looked like that because it had a little screw in it.
Okay.
So that
I went along with him as getting the money, but I didn't kill nobody. I just moved the roads and stuff. Because he said he didn't get rich like this. And he asked me, do I want to get rich with him? And I said, yes.
Now, first clip, there were two back to back. There was just a little, or the first one is the DIY tip on how to make an axe sword. You just put a little nail in it. It's fine. It works. But in case you didn't quite catch what he just said, let me read it for you because he is pretty soft spoken and this is important. So he said, The first house we did, I went along with him as getting the money, but I ain't killed nobody. I just moved the rugs and stuff because he said we can get rich like this. And he asked me, do I want to get rich with him? And I said yes. I mean,
So this
okay.
is big for the detectives because they're trying to get a confession for Cars Hill, and he just brought up the Oglethorpe house.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to keep him talking. He talked about Chris giving him the keys to Sally Nathanson's recently acquired Dodge and said that getting cars and money was his motive for the crimes.
Now, the police tried to steer the conversation back to the victims, but Clinton talked more about trying to steal a rowing machine and digging through the house to find things of value. He even mentioned taking a high school diploma so Chris could change the name on it and get a job. Some real genius ideas going on here. But you know what? They stole a high school diploma, a little jewelry, and Sally's car. He said Anne had arrived when they were stealing the car, and so they had to kill her. They'd taken $70 of cash from her pocketbook. And by the way, that's about $200 now. So that's a lot. When asked if he got blood on him, he gave an explanation for the underwear. You remember that? Ooh. Let's hear his explanation.
Did you hit him?
Man,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did you get the blood on your pants?
when he was using the sword, hitting him, the blood had came out the sword and came onto to me. You know, when I said I came in that second, when he was killing that young girl,
Mm-hmm.
and the blood had went off and got on me.
Okay, what did you do when the blood got on you?
I tried to get it off.
How did you do that?
I had went in the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put some water on the blood won't come off. I pulled my pants down to see if it and it had got on my shorts inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't take it home. My mom be asking me what this is. So I took it off. And Chris told me to hurry up to go for somebody to come. So I hurried up. And then when I left my shorts down, my undershorts.
Real quick, Lady in Gray asked again, how old is this kid? He's what, 16?
He's 16 at this point.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when asked what happened to the axe sword, he said Chris had taken it home with him. The police then shifted gears and asked Bankston about what happened in April on Oglethorpe Avenue when Clinton was only 15. He said they went there to get cars, but he didn't know how to drive and had hit the garage wall and the tree before giving up.
Right.
He said that Chris had a key to the Sutton's house and that Chris's father had been in the Army with Dr. Sutton, who, as we know, was actually in the Naval Reserve, not the Army. But I guess we can't be too picky here. I mean, if these clips are telling us anything, it's that one way or another, Clinton is not exactly right in the head.
Not so much. Not so much. Clinton said that he and Chris entered the back of the house, went upstairs, and didn't find anything. And when they went downstairs, Chris encountered Rachel Sutton in the kitchen. He also talked about taking off her, oh God, this part is. He also talked about taking off her compression stockings and rubbing her legs, saying, quote, "We were just playing with her," end quote. So
They was in
fucking
the kitchen.
ew.
And then when I got in there, they went into this room right here. Because he grabbed her by the arm part, put her in here. And that when he starts stabbing her in the neck, part. And then and then he had him hands over her mouth so she can't holler at first, but she started hollering, and then she called her husband's name. That when he had stuck her in the neck part. And then she went back in here. She just had been stuck one time, and she came back in here to the kitchen calling his name.
Oh.
And then she came to this part right here, and he stuck her again. The blood was on this part right here.
It's so sad. Now, in case you didn't catch some of that, Clinton was worried that Dr. Sutton would call the police, but Chris told him that he couldn't move quickly and he had an artificial heart. So Dr. Sutton did descend the stairs.
And throwing him down on the ground on the
We don't have to
floor
listen
right
to that
there.
again. It's okay.
And then
it's a different
he
one.
asked him where the keys was at. And then he said upstairs. First he said, "What you doing? Why you doing this?" Stuff like that. And then Chris asked him where the keys at. And then he started sticking them.
So that, I mean, this whole thing's horrible, but that just makes me so sad and scared that,
my apologies. I didn't realize there were 2 videos back
Yeah.
to back. And but anyway, that's what he said in both of those. And it's so bad.
yeah. So he just the fact that, you know, we've learned about Dr. Sutton, and like he's a really impressive man, and the fact that he's laying on the ground asking somebody why they're doing this to him is just heartbreaking. And like, it's a question I think probably all of us have. Why are you doing this for a couple of old cars? Like, seems literally insane. But Dr. Sutton, as we heard, did tell Clinton where to find the keys, but Chris still repeatedly stopped him. Chris then moved Mrs. Sutton into the pantry, and Clinton moved Dr. Sutton there as well. At Chris's direction, Clinton found garment bags and tried to cover as much of Mrs. Sutton as he could with them. He told Chris he wasn't burying anyone, and Chris said that the bodies would stay hidden there long enough to turn into bones.
Because that's how that happens. Real geniuses they are.
Yeah.
Now they stole a whole $35 from Dr. Sutton's wallet and some jewelry. Obviously, the car plan didn't work out for them, and he didn't really have an explanation for why they had tried to steal women's clothing and shoes. They tried to clean up after themselves, but did an absolutely crap job, as we've seen. Because if you didn't notice earlier, there was blood on that dustpan, and I don't know why.
And they mopped the carpet.
And they mopped the carpet. Like, yeah, what are you even doing? What is happening?
Like, not getting any A for effort. I don't care how much elbow grease they put in there. So Clinton was able to direct police to a place on a gravel road behind a Salvation Army where some of the Cars Hill evidence had been dumped, including the hatchet used to kill the 3 women, Clinton's bloodied button-down shirt, and Helen Nathanson's diploma.
Which I, by the way, do not see a sword as the handle. And I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed about it. I'm a little disappointed that I don't see that DIY project there.
Just told you we were getting a little fantastical.
How?
I don't think He-Man was there either.
What? Oh my gosh. What is even happening? Okay, so that's how Clinton said it all went down. He was just there. Chris did everything. The Suttons were the first time he saw Chris murder anyone. But Chris has a Trans Am that he suspected he killed for. Yeah.
How else do you get a Trans Am?
I mean,
Now, if we were listening hard to Clinton's story, we can start to see some inconsistencies. He said he didn't find anything upstairs at the Suttons, but later he said that Mr. Sutton was upstairs. He said Chris had taken the axe sword and diploma, but they'd been dumped somewhere with Clinton's bloodied shirt.
yeah. And despite saying he took no part in any of the violence, when he was asked how things happened, he knew all of the details. He said when he first entered Sally Nathason's house, she was already dead. And how did he know that her voice didn't work?
Now, here is the thing. There is absolutely no evidence of Chris existing. No one else knew him. He wasn't in the school system. He didn't live where Clinton said he lived. And they couldn't find that sweet Trans Am. The fingerprints at the scene matched Clinton. Clinton had the Dodge.
Yeah, you guys. When Clinton's mother was interviewed, she was able to give a little insight on Chris. Since Clinton had been a young boy, any time that he had gotten in trouble, he'd blame it on Chris. They lived in Atlanta when Chris first was mentioned. When they moved to Athens, specifically to 540 Oakthorpe Avenue, just down the street from the Sutton's house, Chris seemingly moved there too. Clinton got in trouble at school for selling candy and said he'd been doing it for Chris. Clinton told his mother where Chris and his uncle lived, Oglethorpe and Hawthorne. But when she went to find him, no one there knew what she was talking about. When asked if she had ever considered that Chris might not exist at all, she had answered, yes. You guys. That was my emoji reaction that I highlighted right there. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bankston later told the police and psychiatrists that Chris did not exist. He spoke of knocking on the Sutton's door, looking for work, becoming enraged at something Mrs. Sutton had said. He spoke of following Helen Nathanson home from work one day. He'd also lived close to both of the houses, so they were convenient to him. And as a side note, keep in mind, if Clinton Bankston had dissociative identity disorder, he wouldn't know everything that happened in those moments when Chris took over.
True.
No diagnosis has been shared with the public, but I wonder, personally, I wonder if he was developing schizophrenia. He was the right age for the most common onset, but that is all speculation. We don't know what exactly was going on with him.
Yeah, he did have an unhappy childhood. His parents split up and his father died in a house fire when Clinton was 11. He spent time at both his mother's and grandmother's house, but implied that he spent much of the time alone.
He dropped out of high school in the 9th grade. And that was also my high school. So, go Glad.
Woo!
He also, he was recalled by classmates and teachers as a neat and shy boy. He didn't talk in class unless called on, and he often needed help with reading.
When the police had searched Bankston's bedroom, they had found the jewelry, some weapons, some replicas of Michael Jackson's clothes, which I feel would not be cheap during this time at all. And they found some pages of writing. The police interpreted them as his plans for the money he would make from his crimes. Now, these plans included buying homes for his family, beds, fans, and heaters for people, paying utility bills, and last on his list was the sentence, no one stay by theirself. And may I just say, he has a lot nicer handwriting than I thought he would. Just put it out there.
He's very neat.
He is very neat.
So I know I'm not supposed to have sympathy for the killer, especially after what we've talked about. But these notes really drive home to me that this kid wanted to do right by his family and that he was lonely and he didn't want anyone else to be. Of course, he went about it in the absolute worst way possible.
Worst way ever.
Also, sorry, I like also on this note, he says that the girls can come over as long as they clean his house.
I mean,
fun.
Nobody
note.
likes messy people coming over to their house is all.
Earn your keep.
Earn your keep. Now, Clinton Bankston Jr. was assigned a public defender named Ed Tolley, who was with him from the first preliminary hearing in August in juvenile court. But in September, he was indicted by a grand jury to be tried as an adult. Bankston was charged with 5 counts of capital murder and, of course, denied bond. District Attorney Harry Gordon was seeking the death penalty, but Tolley was experienced in death penalty cases, and from their first conversation had assumed that Bankston was mentally ill. He requested Bankston's school records and found that the reports of mental health and behavioral issues began in first grade. Tolley's own wife was a school teacher who had referred him to a center for children with psychological and psychiatric difficulties when he was 5 or 6 years old. The school district had denied her request, saying he was too young. So he skated through the public school system until he dropped out of high school.
Go Glats. So despite some family members' arguments that Bankston was innocent, Tolley did not see any way that he could be found not guilty. His goal was not to free Bankston, but to save his life. And looking for a way to accomplish that, he found an inconsistency in the Georgia death penalty law. A previous update to the law had removed language barring the execution of a juvenile, and the 1987 version was ambiguous as to whether or not someone under the age of 17 could be legally sentenced to death. Tolley saw his opening and filed a motion to bar the imposition of the death penalty for his case. That motion was denied, but ended up going to the state Supreme Court. So in April of 1988, in the case of Bankston v. Georgia, the court found it was not legal to execute a juvenile or a person who was a juvenile at the time of the crime. Once the death penalty was off the table, Tolley was more willing to discuss options with the prosecution.
Yes, on May 12th, 1988, Clinton's 17th birthday, Clinton Bankston Jr. was sentenced to 5 life sentences after pleading guilty, but mentally ill. Now, in case you're wondering, if he had been found not guilty by reason of insanity, he'd have gone into a mental health facility. A guilty but mentally ill plea gives the court the authority to charge you just like they would charge anyone else found guilty, and gives the Department of Corrections the discretion to send the person to a mental health facility temporarily. Now, he did try to vacate his convictions and withdraw his guilty pleas in 2019, citing ineffective counsel, failure to appropriately assess his mental competency, and that he should have been tried as a juvenile. In 2020, the Georgia Supreme Court upheld his conviction. It probably didn't help that he tried to escape from his first detention center, but I mean, like, okay. Now, though, he is currently incarcerated at the Wheeler Correctional Facility in Alamo, Georgia.
As I mentioned before, the crimes of Clinton Bankston Jr. have become the stuff of urban legend around Athens. When I finally found someone who would tell me about it on the school bus, they said that the Sutton's son had killed them. I've heard that their gardener killed them. I've heard that Bankston was shot and killed escaping from prison. Obviously, none of that is true, but those versions might make more sense than how it actually happened.
In fairness, maybe. Now, it just goes to show you that before the internet put all this information at our fingertips, true crime was a game of telephone. Little bits of truth turning into wild rumors. And let's be real, though. The internet only helps with that if you know where to find accurate news. I think those little bits of truth and wild rumors kind of still run rampant, even on the interwebs. And we're at a time when truth seems more and more subjective. So as I always say, be sure to do your research. Now, for our closing thoughts for tonight's story. Now, I find myself very conflicted with this case. The sheer brutality and horror, absolute horror, inflicted on all of the victims fills me with rage. I mean, we heard about them. They were successful, amazing people who contributed legacies throughout decades, and to be gone because of this is just it's very unfair. But clearly, there was something very troubling and disturbing going on with Clinton. And a part of me wonders that if this had taken place in our modern time, would the outcome be different? I mean, he didn't seem like he was a monster at his core. You know, as a matter of fact, it seemed like in his fractured mind that his actual plan was to help his family and the people that he loved, but something was going on with him that I don't believe he really had a lot of control over. And if this happened now, would he have been sent to an institution and receive the psychiatric care that he clearly and desperately needed? You know, there's been a heated discussion, a heated debate for decades about rulings regarding juveniles and punishments. And I'll be honest, I don't even know where I actually stand on that issue. And this case, as I said, has me very torn and is certainly one that I will continue to ponder. So thank you, Capn, for that. That thing that's never going away. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, I think the fact that a teacher had tried to get him help when he was only 5 or 6 really shows that despite what his classmates and family said, this wasn't a total shock. Other people could see the warning signs there, and that isn't passing the blame to anyone but him. But the situation just sucks all the way around. I start feeling bad for him, and then I remember just how violent these crimes were.
Mm-hmm.
and how horrible and senseless the last moments of these victims must have been. So I mean, not
It's
only do I
tough.
have the cultural connection to it, but also it's not
It's
cut and
tough
dry. It's not
and
black
it's
and white.
complicated. And I think
Mhm.
that's the thing with many of these cases, especially juvenile cases. It's not black and white. It's complicated. You do have young killers who, when let go, kill again.
Yeah.
Then you have
Oh,
others
and
who do something bad in their youth and they never do it again. Our first show of this season was the James Bulger case,
mhm.
which was a very good example of the dichotomy of juvenile offenders, I think.
That was another hard case, though.
That was
Uh,
another hard case. Yes. Yes.
But I also for my closing thoughts, I do want to. I always like to shout out to like the sources that were super helpful in researching.
Always.
So for this week, I have got to give a shout out to Classic City Crime, which is an Athens-based podcast that did an 8-part mini series on this. So if you really are interested in all the ins and outs and hearing all the cops talk and all that, check it out. It's behind a paywall, but they have other interesting cases as well, all in Athens.
All Athens.
So,
Really? Wow.
Credit where credit's due. Thank you, Cameron J.
Yes, Classic City Crime. Go check them out. Now let's wrap up tonight's show because that's that time of night, you guys. That was it. That was the story. So, you guys, let's wrap it up. Join Terry at CC Wine Co. If you guys missed the live Ohio show, well, guess what? You get shout out to Capn's Jacket.
Lady was asking. It's because I went to the same high school as him. So Clark Central.
Yes. Yes. Now, if you missed our live show in July, you can catch Terry. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it to Texas, but you can join Terry at CC Wine & Co. for a gripping live podcast recording of True Crime and Wine Time as she uncorks the chilling details behind Bastrop's most infamous murder, the 1996 killing of Stacy Stites, and the decades-long controversy surrounding Rodney Reed's conviction. He is on death row for this. Anyway, it is going to be a very big deal. Tickets are on sale now. It is September 13th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. And remember, if you are a member of our channel, you get all live shows streamed just to you in real time so you can join it then. But if you're in Bastrop, Texas, go stop in, go say hi. I heard about this case from her filling me in, and wow. Just wow. It is very what's the word? The sides are it's not cut and dry. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Now, before we go, if you like what you heard tonight, be sure to follow all of our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. And if you're listening to our pod, please download and give us a rating because all of that tremendously helps our channel getting out there. Now, next week on True Crime and Wine Time, Terry True Crime will be back, and we will be covering the milk carton that changed America, the Eaton Cal Pat story. This will be another two-parter, and while this may be an old case, it's recently entered the true crime news circuit again. And you'll have to stay tuned to find out why. Now, if you needed more of Terry and I, you can always find us doing something on our True Crime and Wine Time YouTube channel. And while Terry is making her way back to the screen, she's doing things in baby steps, so there will be no midday missing until September 1st. Now, you guys, Couch Court with Llama is back, and we're getting geared up for our next live trial coverage, which will be Florida versus Donna Adelson. Oh boy, it's gonna be something. And I heard she was taking the stand. So if you're unsure who the Adelsons are, though, I will be doing a catch-up stream next week as we await for the jury to be selected. And it is going to be a trial you don't want to miss. Now, if you haven't yet, please like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all those YouTube-y things so you don't miss when we go live or drop an episode. And I want to thank Capn for being a total bitch tonight. Everyone, let her know what she could do better in the comments. Is there anything you... I'm sorry, I can't. Capn wrote that again for me, and I left it. To say.
So the fact is, she doesn't read the scripts before she reads them. This was my research.
That is absolutely not true. And I mean total bitch in the best way. Thank you, because your research was amazing. Your storytelling, amazing. Thank you so much for suggesting this case tonight, because like I had never heard of it. And it is certainly one that I don't know where it puts in my list of cases that were going to haunt me. I mean, I'm doing Oba Chandler right now, which is a case that has haunted me for a really, really long time. And I think that this is one of those too, because of the depravity of the crimes. But then you have this other side, and the age of the victim, the clear mental illnesses of this victim for a very long time. So thank you for sharing that with us. Actually, you know what? Oh, yes, the perpetrator. My apologies. That wasn't great. But you guys...
The victims were not mentally ill.
The victims were not mentally ill. No, they were fantastic.
But if they were, aren't we all?
That's true. Oh, well, thank you. On top. She's one of my besties. Oh, wait, I forgot I got to point this way. She is one of my besties. She's amazing. She does many of our visual slideshows. She researches, she writes, she gets on air. Rumor I heard was that we're going to see more of Capn in the future. She's like, what?
Well, it's a good thing we learned tonight about what rumors do. And
I'm
like an urban legend myself.
And that is true. The mysterious.
You decide which one.
But you know, actually, you guys, in the comments, let her know how much of an amazing job she did, not only on the show, but researching, writing, scripting, all of the jazz. She's amazing. Now, is there anything you would like to say before we go, or a sign off or something like that?
As always, I want to thank y'all for being here. Keep sharp, make good decisions, and go dogs.
I guess, whatever that means, but okay. I'm just kidding. It's just
very cute. He's very cute.
Is he the bulldog?
An actual dog. Yeah, he's a little.
Honestly, I don't watch sports ball. Okay, I don't know. All right, I don't know. But he's a little bulldog.
Very cute. That's all you need to know.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Well, thank you everyone for listening and supporting us. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of each other, and never stop asking the hard questions, even when you're little, like we were on the school bus. Now, everybody, go forth and be amazing. Bye, guys. Thank you.